Let's go ahead and jump into a couple of news stories of interest for Indigenous people across the country right now. I'm going to lead things off here talking about Line 5 in Michigan. So, for those of you who don't know, Canadian energy Canadian energy company Enbridge has a pipeline running. It's a 645-mile petroleum pipeline carrying oil from Wisconsin across Michigan through the Upper Peninsula, through the Lower Peninsula, and then down through under the St. Clair River into Ontario. It crosses the Strait of Mackinac, which connects Lake Huron and Lake Superior, and it crosses 400 rivers, streams, and wetlands. And over the last 50 years, it has spilled 1.1 million gallons of oil already. According to some estimates, the state of Michigan is at risk of losing $6 billion if there were to be a catastrophic spill in the Strait of Mackinac. So at this time, the pipeline is aging, it's wearing out. And so they want to do away with this pipeline here and put in a new pipeline that tunnels, follows the same path basically, but this one will tunnel under the lakes, but it's still very disruptive and very dangerous to the land and to the economy of Michigan. Now, in May of this year, 2021, Michigan's governor issued a shutdown order for Line 5 and said any profits that they make would be owned by Michigan, starting this legal battle over Line 5. And that's at the same time period. Now, she cited the economic concerns. We could lose billions of dollars if this thing spills. Now, at the same time, the same week in May, the Bay Mills Indian Council voted to banish Line 5 on the reservation, as well as lands and waters that they ceded of their ceded territory, citing an 1863 treaty with Michigan, where in exchange for the U.S. And Michigan protecting tribal waters and fishing rights, they would cede the land over to the government. So that was back in May. As of this moment, Line 5 is still continuing to transport orders against the order of Michigan's governor. And that's set up a legal battle. So this has been running in the state of Michigan. But in October of 2021, Canada invoked a 1977 treaty between President Jimmy Carter and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's father, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. And this put limits on transit pipelines, actions that may harm the energy supply in either country. So in an attempt to stop this shutdown, Canada has cited this treaty. And it's the first time either country has done this since 1977, never been done. And so now this has become an international incident because this is a Canadian company. And the governor of Michigan is the one who stepped in and said, no, we don't want to do this. You know, we don't want to take the risk. Indigenous people want their tribal waters protected. So, you know, this is effectively going to remove it from Michigan's jurisdiction if it goes through with this. Now, earlier this month, in October of 2021, Joe Biden was making a trip to Michigan to promote his infrastructure and build back better packages. And even though all of this was going on, he didn't address the issue. Now, this is understandable to me because you've got to see this from both sides here. You have moderate Democrats who are pro-union in Michigan who are upset with President Biden because they want this to be done because there will be union jobs had. But then you have all the environmentalists and the indigenous people saying, no, we don't need to do this because this is damaging. It's dangerous. And so there's this fight within the Democratic Party. So right now, my assumption is that they're weighing all the options. What do we do? Now, I think that you can tell from history, more than likely they'll lean towards siding with the corporations. But this is where we come in. You know, I think that this is where we can put on pressure and try to encourage Joe Biden to say something, to recognize the treaties of these indigenous people. Because the thing to remember is this treaty protecting tribal waters was signed a century before this treaty with Canada was ever signed. So which is more important? Protecting the treaties that we signed with indigenous people, or are we going to continue to steal land, take from them, and go against their will. So this is something that we have to keep an eye on. We have to pressure the Biden administration, Democrats across the country to side with indigenous people, because this is even more than just the Line 5 argument. We've got to protect the land that we have.
Right.
And we're making progress with some returning of land. We don't want to go backwards. We want to move forward all the way. So this is a moment when President Biden can actually stand up. And if he makes that decision to side with the indigenous people, it's going to open up a whole new can of worms, I'm sure, but it would be very good moral support, and maybe kind of lean us away from these fossil fuels and the dangerous practices that we use to transport them to people. So, I really support stopping Line 5, stopping these pipelines. I think that we have to move past fossil fuels. And this is here in West Virginia, where I know coal is huge. But I keep telling people, if we don't move past coal, once it's not economically viable for the coal barons, they're just going to leave us high and dry. As a people, we have to be prepared. And so why not look at moving forward? How can we protect the land as well as making new economic sectors for people to make money? So this is just a highlight. We got to keep an eye on it. We have to pressure Joe Biden to do the right thing here. And
I think we need to pressure Joe Manchin too, because I don't know if you're aware, Seth, but here in the Eastern Panhandle, we have our very own pipeline issue. And it was because of Rockwool wanted to run a pipeline underneath the Potomac River. Can you imagine? Oh my God. And if there was a leak, it would poison DC as well as us. So
right.
And so luckily for us, though, Governor Hogan would not sign. He would not sign off on that. And so we were celebrating that about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now. I forget exactly when it was. But there's a lot of pipeline going through my area here where I live. And it's really not good. It's, at any point in time, one of those pipelines could break and poison all the earth and the water supplies and everything. So it really is important that we stay on top of this. And by the way, you mentioned Indigenous Peoples Day. The streets are filled with environmentalists on that day, which is great, because like you said, we need to protect the earth. So.
Right. I completely agree. And that's why I think, you're talking about pipelines locally too. Up near my house, I'm probably 2-3 miles away. They're putting in a pipeline. It's been kind of stalled because I went up there in April, took some pictures, and the construction hasn't moved on since then. I don't know what the delay is. I haven't really been able to find much information. There's so many pipelines that really nobody pays attention to. And there's not a lot of information available if you don't know where to look. So I'll put up some pictures here while we're talking that I took back in April of a pipeline near my house, natural gas pipeline. And this is what it does to the environment. They clear cut the way through the right of way. And then for the whole time of that thing is there, they keep that clear cut. There is not going to be any real vegetation come back. And what is put there is monoculture. West Virginia has some of the highest biodiversity on the planet. We're ruining it by letting these people come in and do these things. It's time to stop while we can, reverse the damage that's been done as best we can, and mitigate the risks going forward. So that's my goal. That's what I want us to be here in West Virginia. I want us to be the voice of environmental justice.
Yeah.
And, so this is a great place to start because this has a lot of eyes on it. Line 5, cutting through, that Strait of Mackinac that's responsible for a lot of commerce, because that's a very important waterway between the two lakes. So this is something to keep an eye on. If we can sway them here, it's a good sign for other places. If we can't, it's a sign that we need to work a lot harder. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And it makes me think about, have you ever heard of the mushroom guy? There's a mushroom guy in Canada who has figured out how to use mushrooms to clean up toxic waste.
I did hear about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sometime, maybe in another show, we can talk more about it, but that's what it brings to mind when we were talking about saving the land, you're right about West Virginia, all those little hollers and creeks and stuff. We just unique animals, unique, plant life. We're very diverse here biologically. So it's wonderful.
Biologically, yes, we're very diverse biologically.
Not people wise, but
no, but biologically, it's amazing.
Yes.
Quick note for anyone out there who's watching, who wants to help our cause, help this caucus grow, help us get events, help us get the word out. You can become a sponsor of the caucus, any level up to $5,000. And we will be very appreciative, and it will help us get the word out to more people. There will be an Act Blue link soon, I promise you. But in the meantime, your continued support is appreciated. And thank you so much if you've watched this, and we would really appreciate it if you would come, even as an ally, and sit in on our meetings. You can find more information again at wvdemocrats.com on the Democratic Party calendar. Go to November the 10th. There'll be information with the Zoom link. Alternatively, again, you can email us, wvdpindigenouscaucus@gmail.com, and we'll add you to the roll. We'll get you on our mailing list, and you'll never miss a meeting. So we look forward to that, and we hope that we see you all sometime soon.
Thanks, Seth.
All right. See you all later.